It's Michigan State Basketball Media Day. We're at the courtside room at Breslin Center here with Lindsey Huddleston. Lindsey heard Tom Izzo talking a few minutes ago about this season, and guy who's been with him first as a player, 4 solid years at Michigan State, so many wins, and part of a Big Ten championship. He had the basket that did it in 1990, and now as a Michigan State assistant coach, 2003. Wow, going back a ways, Dwayne Stevens. Seem like that long?
It's flown by, but it's been a blast. Obviously, this is home for me, and it's been fun to see this program grow into what it's grown into, and to have a hand in that makes it even more special.
When you go out and you sell Michigan State basketball on the recruiting trail, what do you emphasize? What do you really hammer home that makes Michigan State different?
I think the biggest thing that makes Michigan State different is Coach Izzo and how he treats the former players. I mean, this is a truly a family, the family atmosphere throughout our program, whether it be with the families always being around, whether it be former players coming back, whether it be former players calling current players. I think the family atmosphere and the connectivity, if that's a word, that Coach has created with the former players and current players is something that's very special, and I know that you don't have that at a lot of places.
This program has come a long way from when you got here as a freshman. Talk about the start of the Breslin Center era, that first year, and playing for Judd. And Tom was an assistant coach then, and a lot of people had no idea what he could become. Took a while before people realized, hey, we got something special here. And now here he is. He's got 3 more Final Fours than anyone in Big Ten history.
It's unbelievable what he's been able to accomplish here, and I think it's something that a lot of people won't really appreciate until Coach is gone. It's when you sit back and you really think about it. I know Wisconsin's been to a couple Final Fours. I know Illinois has been to a Final Four. I think that's it for the Big Ten. Other than Michigan State, and Michigan, but we don't count theirs. But right. It's pretty neat to be a part of what Coach has really built here. And
I think Purdue hasn't been to a Final Four since 1980.
Yeah, to me that is unbelievable, because I really respect what Matt Painter does as a coach, and I think that he does a great job. And obviously, before him, Gene Cady was an unbelievable coach, and for them not to have been to a Final Four since 1980 would shock a lot of people.
When you're out there on the recruiting trail, DJ, what's something refreshing that you hear from the recruits or this generation of athletes, and what's something that's a little concerning that you kind of run into sometimes?
Something refreshing, I would say. It's funny to see how the kids pull for one another now. Mm-hmm. So I think that's refreshing. I think because of social media, kids are a little more connected than when I grew up. So they know more about each other. They communicate a lot more with each other. I would say something concerning would be the lack of competitive kids out there. Mm-hmm. And I think that the two kind of go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. If there was another top player in the state, my mindset was that I wanted to be better than him. I wanted to play well against him. I wanted to, kick his butt. And I think now a lot of these kids just want to be friends and friendly with one another. And I think that there's a lack of competitiveness amongst them because of that.
So when they get here to a great program like Michigan State, do you have to work on changing that mindset with that top kid who comes in who may think things like that?
No, I don't know if we changed the mindset. Obviously, our program's been built on toughness and being competitive. And I think because of our practices and how we go about our business, we help create that competitive edge that a lot of our guys play with. So I think that some of them come in and it may be a little shock to them to see how competitive things are once they get here. But it's not something that we say, okay, this kid isn't competitive enough, so we're not going to recruit him. If if we feel like there's a kid and he has some talent and he fits our system, then we're going to go after that kid.
One of the things about Michigan State's program, guys, I think that it does less changing than most programs. They don't change for kids. Kids change. Mm-hmm. If they're going to make it here, they get the message of what this program's about, and they change, or they're not going to be seeing a lot of playing time, right?
Yeah, I would say that's fair. I think what we've been lucky to have here over a long period of time is consistency, and that's consistency amongst the staff, but also the players, and they pass things down from one another. Draymond Green, it was Goran Sutan that passed it down to Draymond Green. It was Draymond Green that passed it down to Raymar Morgan to Brandon Dawson. So I think that it's just been something that Coach instilled in the program back when Mateen and all those guys were here, and they've just been passing it down since then, and I think it's something that shouldn't be taken for granted.
Tom was talking last week about recruiting never ends, and now with some of the changes and the transfer portal and some of those things, said you never stop recruiting. You never know. Michigan State this week with Jalen Terry, been a long time commit. I know you can't talk about prospects, but it's just an example of what can happen. And last year you got Julius Marble late in the process. So you got to keep going 365, right?
Yeah, recruiting's a never-ending job, and it's something that we're doing 24/7. It's something that we spend a ton of time on, and Coach really prides himself on getting to know kids and having a relationship with the guys that we bring here. I think that's one of the reasons that we've been so successful in terms of attracting, big-time players here, because they feel like they're going to have a relationship with the head coach. And, I think there are still some parents out there that value that. I think it is less valued as it used to be, but, if you can find a parent and a kid that are on the same page in terms of understanding that you better have a good relationship with the head coach and the assistants, I think that's a kid that's worth his weight in gold, because now I think a lot of these kids are trying to use college basketball as a vehicle to get to the NBA, and there's not as much pride taken in wanting to be a part of championships. When I came here, it was a big deal for me to be a Spartan. If I made it to the NBA, that would be great. But I did not take being a Spartan for granted, and that was a big deal to me. So a big thing for us now is we want kids that want to be Spartans and want to be a part of something, want to be able to come back to something, and that's the biggest thing that we can provide for the kids now. And I think throughout the recruiting process, that's something we talk about with the kids, and when hopefully they understand that, and they can bring that with them here when they come, if they decide to come.
We're talking with Dwayne Stevens, Michigan State associate head coach in year 17, and talk about being a Spartan. What is a Spartan? You would know as well as anyone.
Oh, man.
Obviously, a person who can play, but it goes beyond that, right?
It goes beyond that. A Spartan is a person that definitely has some unbelievable toughness, unbelievable competitiveness. I think a Spartan has a heart of gold, someone that's giving, unbelievable teammate. Spartan is someone that's not afraid to put his, what I want to say, not afraid to step out there and be different than other people. I think a lot of times now we have a lot of people that are so cookie cutter that they're not themselves because they're afraid that they're going to be looked at as differently. So a Spartan isn't afraid to stand by himself and stick by what he believes in. And I think there are a lot of things that attributes that Spartans have, but for the most part, we're competitive, we're fearless, we are strong, tough, and tough-minded both mentally and physically, and I think that's what it is to be a Spartan.
You know, when you talk about those players that some look past being at a great program for 3 or 4 years and want to go to the show, what are some characteristics for a player at a younger age that kind of stand out to show you that this is the kind of kid that may want to stay around or want be more committed to the program? What are some characteristics of kids like that?
Well, I don't think there's a lot of kids out there that think that anymore. I think the kids just really, they look at, okay, yeah, it'd be nice if I can win a championship or two on the way to hopefully being an NBA player. So I just don't know. You get a lot of guys that come in saying, okay, I want to be a 4-year player and I want to, leave my stamp on Michigan State, leave my legacy or my stamp on the program. There's just not a lot of kids out there like that anymore. And the more kids that we can find that believe in that, I think the better our program is going to be. It's unfortunate, and I think that social media plays a big part in that. But when we find guys like that, I think that they have been unbelievable for us, and we're always excited to find guys like that.
2 more quick questions for you, DJ. You've always worked with the bigs. You've developed a lot of players. What about Xavier Tillman and the development he has had in so many ways, on and off the court?
I think that it's been pretty good for Xavier being here. A lot of people don't understand what it takes for him to do what he does day in, day out. I think he has an unbelievable support system from both his wife, his daughter, and his parents back home. It's tough to be a student in college and manage your time well. I think he's done an unbelievable job with it.
Being a parent?
Being a parent.
You give him any parenting advice?
I don't give him parenting advice. I'm still learning myself, so I let him handle that himself. If he asked, I'd be more than willing to share what I've gone through. But I think the biggest thing is he's someone that just takes care of his business. He came in as a student that was, I would say he was an average student, and he's turned himself into an unbelievable student, and it's just because he takes care of his business.
Last thing for you, 17 years is a long time. When are we going to see you as a head coach?
That's a great question. Hopefully soon. I'm grateful to be here, and I love being at Michigan State, and I want to stay as long as I can. Hopefully one of these ADs will open their eyes and give me an opportunity. But I'm definitely grateful for where I'm at and understand that nothing should be taken for granted, and I'm appreciative of being where I am now. So until that time comes, I'm going to do my best to make this program as good as I can.
Dwayne Stevens, Associate Head Coach, Michigan State. We'll be right back. We're at Breslin Center. It's the Dean Trailways on the road tour with Lindsey Huddleston.